Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We have the new magma lamp up, and as the segment goes, the black magma will flow in the Sporticulture lamp. We're zooming now as we merge the WNST and the Baltimore Positive brands. And in the middle of all of this madness of COVID and mask wearing and pandemics and the country being at a standstill, it's 100 degrees and the hockey game's on, and I am wearing my old Baltimore Skipjacks jersey, which means that I'm probably going to sing the Baltimore Clippers fight song before this is all over with. Back in a previous life, Lou Pellegrino was my senior producer for Nasty Nationwide at the end of the century, the beginning of the century, depending on how you look at it. It's probably time that we caught up on the other end of the death of Regis Philbin, Lou Pellegrino, because this hockey confluence of Barry Trotz and your Long Island background and your hockey thing and my hockey thing and Trotz going to coach your team after winning a cup with my team, it's brought us all together, but probably the day that Regis Philbin was kind to both of us that I'm sure you remember. I was telling my wife that story 2 weeks ago, and I thought, you know what? It's time to get Pellegrino back on the show. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm great, Nestor. It's good to see you as always. Actually, it's better to see you now because normally we do this over the phone. So now I get to see you in person.
Hell of a leg lamp. It's a good leg lamp, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, man. Nice. That's a pretty sweet little setup you have there with the leg lamp, and you got the hats and the Be More Positive and the WNST hats and the mugs and everything. So it's
dude,
really
I'm
cool
not like Pharrell where like, you know, if I get my room rated, I want it rated to be rated, you know. How's my room look? All right.
I like it. I think it looks really cool. I like it. I'm looking around. You can see if you see me on screen, my eyes are darting around because I'm just checking everything out. But yeah, man, you know, it's so
I'm wearing my pajamas or I would back up, and I don't really want to. I mean, do you really want to see me in my pajamas? I mean, I'll give you a little.
I saw your plaid pants already. Look, I'm wearing a Kermit the Frog t-shirt and North Dakota basketball shorts. So, you know, this is the life of working at home during pandemic season.
Well, because I am wearing underwear and I'm wearing. So, you know, do you want a little tour? First things first. I mean, Taharka is our great sponsor, so I have ice cream, and as you can see, the ice cream's missing because I ate it. So, and it's made in Baltimore, some pistachios, some vanilla bean. I keep some Pizza John's cups. It's Chicken Palooza this month, Lou. 10 cents
nice.
From every Chicken Palooza box. You ever have Royal Farms chicken? Remember you took me out for that water ice King of Corona? Remember that?
Yeah, an ice King of Corona. Sure, yeah.
You come to Baltimore, I'm taking you for Rofo fried chicken. So, you know, it's a way of life here.
It's so funny when you talk about chicken. First off, there's so many great memories that we have together in this business and in this industry. And a lot of it stems from the home office in Northbrook, Illinois, when we were a part of One-on-One Sports / Sporting News Radio. And so I'll start with the
And you were my New York producer who loved the Islanders.
New York producer who loved the Islanders.
And they stunk then, right? They were like –
actually,
was that when like the Wang thing, or
yes,
like it was? They almost like went out of business when you and I knew each other, right? Like they were almost like not even in the NHL.
When we started, they were teetering on extinction, and then it was so funny because my family gives me all the credit for the Islanders turnaround because I moved out of New York and moved to Chicago to work at Sporting News Radio / One-on-One Sports, and they left because my first year at Sporting News was the year the Islanders started off the season 9-0-1. Peter Laviolette was named head coach, and they brought in
He was about 10 years old then, right? He was a puppy.
The year prior, they trade Chara for Alexei Yashin, so now they have the superstar, not knowing that Chara would be a Stanley Cup winning, you know, captain defenseman for the Bruins. But anyway.
He was just a tall guy then.
Very raw, but look at what he's becoming. And I love Z, and Z is one of the nicest guys that I have ever interacted with. And I'll tell you a funny Z story after this. But the Islanders start their upswing when I moved to Chicago, and then that's when I work with you, and you start talking about pimping the puck and your buddy Barry Trotz, and that's when Trotz was with the Nashville Predators. You had the Predleys. You gave the Predleys all the love because you were just
they were an expansion team.
Of course.
It was easy to just like I'm literally looking in my closet where all my jerseys are. I have the mustard jersey with the nasty one on the back, and you know, Trotz would do that stuff for me all the time, and And now he's like a rock star, right? So just first things first, you and I have all this history of you being my producer, and you've been producing Pharrell. You're Westwood One now. You've been Dan Patrick's producer. I pimped you a little bit this week with Ted Starkey and Ed Frankovic. Dude, I haven't talked hockey since maybe the last time you and I talked hockey, maybe a year or two ago, whenever Trotz played the Caps or whatever the first time. I haven't been to a hockey game in 26 months. The last time I was at a game was in Vegas when I walked off the cup. Like, I was at the bench when Tony Robbins handed the cup to Alex Ovechkin to take into the locker room. That's when I walked off the ice, and I went to the team party, and I flew home, and I went to the parade. And I literally, and I mean this with my soul, I'm not lying to you, I've not watched hockey of any kind. I haven't been to a game. I haven't watched a game. When the Islanders played the Caps like the first time or two, it was a Friday night. I put it on. It was in October, November, whatever. But I haven't watched playoff hockey. I went to a Game 7 Blues-Bruins party at Silver Spring Mining a year and a half ago, where Gary Rissling put together a Skipjacks reunion. So there were 20 hockey-related players and people, and my wife, and food and wings and beer. And the game was on, and I didn't even really watch the game because I was like catching up with Steve, or catching up with Gilly, or, my buddies, Peter, my friends that played. So, but you asked what's on my thing. I want to share this with you because I haven't shared this, and I'm going to try to get Julio on. Julio's my friend in San Francisco that is the tequila mate. He sent me this thing, and it's kind of a neat little piece that I've never really shared. And it came in a box. He made it a couple of years ago at the Super Bowl, and in 2016, and he forgot to give it to me, and he mailed it to me like 4 weeks ago. So 4.5 years later, I got it. So I'll read this to you, and you'll see why he wrote this about me. You ready?
Yeah.
The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. It's a James Michener quote, right? So, and this is just a glass thing, and this is a Tommy's Mexican T-shirt in here. So you ask what's on this thing. I've never really held this up. So you asked, cool. And I'm wearing my pajamas. As you can see, I tend to pull them up because it's warm. It's 100 degrees out today. But the hockey game's on, right? So, I haven't watched any hockey at all. And then on Sunday, my wife put hockey on, right? So she puts the hockey game on. The Caps are playing the Bruins. I'm trying to, Lou, this is how far out of it I am, okay? I thought that we were playing some of these games in America. I thought they had staged these games in, Phoenix or Vegas or Anaheim. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I guess it makes sense politically that they wouldn't let us in and they wouldn't want us there, right? So these games are being staged in Toronto and Edmonton. I didn't even know until lunchtime on Sunday. And Ted Starkey put out a tweet. I've sort of unfollowed a lot of my hockey friends because I just decided, I made a decision when Ted Leone just lied to me that when he won the Stanley Cup, he would bring it to Baltimore and never did. And when I was lied to by him and by his family and by his son, that I just decided, and then they fired Trotz. I was 50 years old, and I just decided it's just sort of like a point in your life where you're just like, I'm just not doing it anymore. I'm not going down there anymore. I'm not putting capital stuff on and pretending they're my team. When I flew to Las Vegas. I flew around to all their playoff games for 5 years. When my wife was sick, I was up at the Garden, right? For Game 7 when they lost in the middle of the night. They should have won Game 6. They had friggin' 30 seconds left. So you're a hockey guy, so you know why I'm beefed about that. But of course. I've just given up on hockey in that way. I met my wife at a hockey game. Hockey's my first love. I mean, I covered hockey. I just decided, like the Michener quote, that I was going to do something else with my life. And I'm about to birth Baltimore Positive to do something else with my life. But I am wearing my Skipjacks jersey. This may be the last time I put it on. It's the first time I've had it on in 2 years. But hockey's like playing in August, and you're a hardcore hockey guy. You're a lifer. I am as well. Just give me a little read on this because I might watch this series. I wasn't watching the 14 periods Tuesday night that whoever played Toronto, somebody played all night, Columbus. I don't know what it was. It was all over my Twitter. I've just decided it's a soap opera like General Hospital. I stopped watching it right around the Ice Princess, and I just decided it was a good time in my life. I walked off the ice with the Stanley Cup in Las Vegas. It's not going to get any better than that. My friend won the Stanley Cup and then got S-canned, and he's running your team. So I'm going to root for the Islanders here this week. So I'm probably going to watch some games this week. Yeah, I'm going to root for the Islanders. But give me where you are, because I don't have any hockey friends in my life. I never did have a whole lot of hockey friends, which is part of being from Baltimore, right? Sure. We don't have a team here, Lou. Right. People don't dig it around here. We haven't had a team in 30 years now. It's been 29 years since we've had a hockey team. So, yeah. Last time we had a hockey team here, Paul DePodesta was an intern.
Oh, my God.
and Kenny Albert. And, just we've had legendary stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
But I love hockey. I miss hockey. But, give me your lowdown, hockey in August from a blink.
I love it. I think it's great because it's an escape. It's an escape from the everyday rigmarole that we go through. Same thing with the NBA. The NBA, everybody's in their bubble, and they're doing everything right. There haven't been any positive COVID-19 tests, coronavirus tests, whatever you want to call it. But for right now, I'm going to stay away from politics. It's more about sports. For me, it's just that escape. Hearing the ice being cut by the blades, hearing the click and the clack of the puck and the sticks in the corners banging around.
See, all I hear is the fans not cheering, man.
Yeah,
for playoff game, that's the weirdness of it. I mean, it's the weirdness of baseball. It'll be the weirdness of football in a couple weeks, right?
Right. It's very weird that there's no reaction from the crowd, and you can even sense the broadcasters are a little behind, because I've been watching some games where Doc Emmerich, who I love, and is doing the call, and he's one of the best, if not the best, hockey commentator around, play-by-play guy around. He's a little delayed with his calls because when the puck hits the back of the net, there's no fan reaction. There's no simultaneous, everybody jumps and screams, yeah, at the same time. So his calls are a little delayed. I was watching a game the other day.
As the puck hits the net, what happens? The light goes, the horn sounds,
exactly.
The confetti flies, the players that see it react, the defensemen that look into the back of the net get dejected, right? But it's all of this happening like a Laurel and Hardy episode. It's happens in silence.
It's in slow motion, and it's in silence, exactly. But I mean, for somebody who just loves the sport, and the fact that they're back, and the fact that Commissioner Bettman and Bill Daly and the owners and the general managers and the players were all able to get on the same page and say, look, this is going to be different. This is going to be like something we've never seen before. But they did the qualifying series for the teams that were either in the last spots for the playoffs or on the fringe, where there was a chance that one of the teams that were on the fringe could have overtaken a team that was in a prime playoff spot. And so I think they did right by every team. And then, you have the
I think they have the best tournament.
of course.
Ed Frankovic, literally on Monday morning, I decided to not even – I pulled the Larry King. You're in the radio business.
Sure.
I didn't read the book. I literally called – I hit Ed, and I hit Ted, and I hit you. Right. And maybe next week – if it's 2-2 and I care, and I'll call Dougie McLean, or I'll bother somebody else. Kenny Albert's running around in Edmonton. I saw his wife tweet that she misses him and he's quarantined because these people are my friends and my Facebook friends, So, I mean, I only know that part of the hockey, what's going on. So I'm about to dive in, literally, game 1, 3 in the afternoon. I've caught on that this is a World Cup, right, or a March Madness every day.
That's
Or if you're Canadian, it's going to shut down. They're still functioning up there. I mean, they've been smart. They wear masks. They're not idiots up there. They don't have a windbag running their country, so they get to function. But nothing's functioning in Canada, right? They're literally having a national World Cup where everything stops at 2 in the afternoon, and everybody drinks and eats at home till 2 in the morning every night for the next month, right?
Yeah, well, the other thing, too, is there are 2 Canadian teams that are still in this. You have the Calgary Flames, and you have the Montreal Canadiens, who Montreal wasn't supposed to beat.
Well, they're playing
Pittsburgh.
Philadelphia, so I'm already rooting for them. You know that.
Right. Well, right. But, you look at it this way. There hasn't been a Stanley Cup won by a Canadian team, I think, since the Canadiens in 92-93. They knocked out my Islanders in the conference finals, where the Islanders, I think, could have easily beat the Los Angeles Kings and Wayne Gretzky in 92-93, which would have been one of the greatest, shocks in all of hockey. But we'll talk about now. But you said it best. I love the fact that some of these games start at noon. Some of these games today, some of these games start at noon. Some of these other games start at like 11 a.m.
Well, they've managed to do what they could never do by starting all the games simultaneously, because they would have some team play in the fifth period at midnight and the puck's dropped in Calgary. And guys like you and me, like multiple screen, 3 games at once, 2 games in double overtime at the same time. I mean, like, it's what made it exciting, right, in April and May, and it's what kept me from going out and, having hay fever when the blooms start to bud every year in May, that I just decided a couple years ago I'm going to take back my April and May nights and my, literally, not to mention the gas and the parking and, like, all of that. I did it for 40 years, and I've just decided there's certain things, like, that, you don't do anymore. Like, I'm not going to get to go see Tom Petty anymore, right? I'm not going to go see Glenn Fry anymore, right? Like, so, I'm not going to see Prince anymore. I hope to see the Stones. I had tickets this summer, the whole deal. But there's just certain things in my life that I just decided hockey was one of those things that wasn't serving me. It had served me I had squeezed all the juice out of it for me, and now it's just about my friendship with Barry Trotz. Now, that being said, give me some hockey, some real hockey. I put this on. It looks sloppy to me. Like the baseball looks really sloppy, right? I mean, like
baseball's not even fun. Baseball's not even fun. Hockey's fun because you know why? You can hear the coaches screaming for a line change. You could hear the players chatting on the ice. I kind of like that because when there was nothing going on, what did I end up watching? I was watching, EPL soccer and Bundesliga soccer, and not because I wanted to, it was because I had money on some of the games, but I was just checking.
And you're in Jersey, it's okay. It's Jersey.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's legal. It's legal here. Right. I'm in Jersey. It's sports betting. It's legal. I have the app on my phone and everything. My wife loves it. She doesn't care. But so it was one of those, oh, wow, that's how the communication is on the ice. That's how the communication is on the pitch. I like that. Baseball to me is so boring because these teams look like they're still in spring training mode. I understand there's a pandemic. I understand they weren't allowed to practice, but
we got playoff fever here in Baltimore. We're at the quarter pole, and we're not going to lose 100 games like we would.
Yeah, that was an impressive win over the Phillies not too long ago where, they came back with, 3 runs in the 9th inning, and the Phillies are just, I think they're so overrated.
Should hit that ball up to the Rocky statue and let him throw it around a little bit to win a game. It's crazy.
Right, but it's sloppy. Baseball seems so sloppy. There are certain teams that are in it, and there's certain teams that are ready to play.
Well, you're going to see that with hockey, right? I mean, and that's a typical April thing where some team cruises to 112 points and gets their ass kicked in 5 games by some 7 or 8 seed, right? Like
Tampa
literally.
Bay, Columbus last year.
So the hockey tournament by its nature, unlike the World Cup tournament, has always been sort of this wide open tournament. It's more wide open than ever now. And boy, the Flyers are playing well, and the Islanders are playing well, and other teams were just sort of dancing around, skating for their position. And part of that Caps-Bruins game, nobody cared who was playing who. But there is juice about the Islanders and the Caps that, at least for now, has been like a Godfather series that has sort of sucked me back in, right?
Sure.
Literally.
Well, that all comes from Trotz because if I remember correctly, when Trotz left the Capitals, the first time I believe the Islanders played the Capitals, there's footage of it. I believe the Capitals put it on Twitter and on their website of Trotz going in and seeing his team, his former team, congratulating them on their rings and congratulating them on the cup. And he said, I wish you guys luck, but don't be, I can't remember the exact word, but he was just like, if your next cup run comes through Long Island, we're going to be ready for you. And the players all laughed and how damn it thought it was great. And
because the Islanders stunk and they were joking, Tavares had left and like the whole deal, right? So the fact that Barry Trotz is getting a playoff series against the Caps is sort of an even Steven run. Forget the $20 million. Forget the way they treated him in the aftermath of him winning the cup. On the road to the cup, they mistreated him. They mistreated him afterward.
Right.
Now, there really is a little blood on the pavement. And let's be honest, for you long-suffering Islanders fans, this is a chance to go steal a Stanley Cup over 6 weeks, right? Like, this, to me, feels like a fake cup no matter who wins it. But if you go put a beard on 100-degree days in Toronto and live in the Royal York Hotel and make your way back and forth and get out to Edmonton 6 weeks from now, and you win 16 games, you get to call yourself a Stanley Cup champion, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny because I was thinking about that because in my head, I'm thinking this would be the year the Islanders win the Stanley Cup where every other fan base is going to go, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. But you know what?
Well, you know what I joked about the other day? I had Eskin on the other day. I said, let the Flyers win. Nobody gets to have any fun, and they don't even get to have a parade. This is the year the Flyers should win.
Right. You know what, though? I mean, as a fan of a team, I would love for the Islanders to win a cup just to be able to say, hey, I was old enough to enjoy a cup because when they won the cup in the 80s, I was still relatively young. And
do you remember it?
I remember my family members going crazy. I don't remember games like
I remember all of it. I remember Billy. I remember. And by the way, Dennis Potvin still sucks. Let him know if you see him. I let Jeff Rimmer know that too.
I'll text Denny as soon as I get off the phone. I'm sure.
Worst guy I ever met.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and it wasn't even a disappointment. It kind of was great, you know. It was great that I met him, and he was an over-the-top jerk, like an all-timer jerk, and I met him in a media situation. I met him in Florida one night. He was not cool to me. And, you know, so I'm like, that's cool, man. That's good. Now, you know, every time the Rangers break out with that one, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you'll cheer and you
need bad guys in sports, you know? You just decide who the bad guys are. That's all.
Right. You know, but just getting back to Trotz.
I don't hold that against Trotz or Bossy, just so you know. I mean, I'm good with it.
They're all sweet. I mean, to me, they were all sweethearted guys. I don't know.
You got Bossy on my show, by the way.
Oh,
and I found the old tape of that. I told you that last year, didn't I?
Yes,
I found like the Best of New York day where we had Gary Carter on, we had Giuliani on.
Well, we could go through.
I'm shocked that Trump didn't call, to be really honest with you.
Right.
In that era.
Right, of course. We could go through so many. I mean, and, you know, we started this off, and I'll tell the story now because I was talking to my wife about it the other night.
The Regis story?
Well, yeah. When Regis
I want you to tell me the Regis story. Let me get coffee. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when Regis passed away, I'm sitting on the couch when it came out, because my wife's a nationally syndicated radio host, so she was prepping her show, and I said, oh, my God, did you see Regis passed away? And she said, no. So she added that to her show prep. And so I said, did you ever meet him? And she said, no. Did you? And I said, I met him one time. And she's like, really? And I said, I was doing a radio show with Nestor Aparicio at Mickey Mantle's restaurant. It was in the day, and he must have just gotten off set and came to Mickey Mantle's, and he was having lunch. And
looked like he was having lunch with his agent or like an old friend, right?
Like an old friend or whatever. He was wearing a white collared polo shirt and a tan shorts, you know, and the white tennis shoes, and he was just lounging.
He was awesome.
So and that's the funny thing that I told my wife. I said, even when he wasn't on camera, he was always on because, and luckily, and the thing that I think sealed the deal, not because we were doing a radio show in the back area of Mickey Mantle's and he saw us, so he knew what we were doing. I had a Notre Dame polo shirt on. And if you know Regis, he's a huge Notre Dame fan. So when I went over to his table, I saw that they were having coffee, so they were not eating. I never interrupt people when I was younger, I never interrupted people for an autograph, a picture, or to get them on a radio show while they were eating. It's like the biggest no-no. So if there's a young producers aspiring out there, don't interrupt people while they're eating. Wait for coffee and dessert, where it's a lot easier to just go over and say, hey, listen, when you're finished, we would love to have you. Anyway, so I walked over.
You've done this before, obviously.
Of course, yes. And I walked over to him. And I just said, I go, hi, Regis. And I didn't even want to do the Mr. Philbin. I figured everybody knows him as Regis. He comes into my living room every morning. It's like, he's Regis.
Call me Regis.
Right. So I said, hi, Regis. I go, my name is, Lou Pellegrino. I'm the producer of Nasty Nationwide. We're doing a little show here from New York for like World Series. I think it was Mets Braves because there was a guy there that had do you remember the John Rocker sucks.com? Oh, yeah. And he started like handing out T-shirts, and eventually he kind of got annoying to Regis. And I was like, dude, you just got to move. Like we have to do our jobs. And, he has your shirt, don't worry about it. You don't have to give him like 17.
Lou's part-time job in New York was the heavy. Yeah, you were the heavy.
Producer/bouncer. So anyway, I went over to his table and I said, Regis would love to get you on a few, and this was before Nasty Nationwide started. You used to do an hour in Baltimore.
That's right.
You used to do an hour in Baltimore, and then you would go on to Nasty Nationwide.
I did 1 to 2. That's right.
Right, and then from 2 to 5 was Nasty Nation.
Dude, your memory's better than mine. Go ahead.
So that's why I'm a producer and I'm a content creator and development.
Do you have a picture of the Regis Day? Because I don't.
I don't think I did because that was technically
You were always the
before-
one like carrying a camera at that
Oh, I
time
always had a
because our
camera.
phones weren't cameras, right?
Right,
Our phones were
exactly.
like Maxwell Smart shoe phones at the time, right?
Yep. So
But
so
I have some pictures. Like I have the pictures of Gary Bettman in the window at Mickey Mantle's.
I'll tell you the pictures we have. I'll tell you the pictures we have.
Go ahead, tell me what we have because I don't have any of these.
Denny Nagel, Denny Nagel the day after the Yankees beat the Mets in the World Series
With Slash.
Jonathan Silverman, actor Jonathan Silverman comes down. The Baja Men.
With Freddie Traub, he brought them.
Who sang Who Let the Dogs Out, and they sang Who Let the Dogs Out in the front of Mickey Mantle's. Then we met Slash and Rod from Slash's Snake Pit. They were just sitting there drinking highballs at the bar, which is really, really weird when you're,
I remember talking to Slash about the Use Your Illusion tour and a night in Minneapolis that I saw it at the Super. I mean, I had a great conversation with Slash.
Yep. Then I saw Richard Grieco walk down Central Park South and grab Booker because that's what he was known for, 21 Jump Street and Booker. So he came in. And I remember there was Tony Bennett walked by once, but he wouldn't do it.
Mr. Tony Bennett.
And then when Survivor was a big thing, the TV show, Richard Hatch,
that guy blew us off.
He blew us off. He said, "You'll have to call my agent." I was like, really? So anyway, we're sitting for this.
I wonder where Richard Hatch is right now.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? Okay. I'm sure it's a quick Wikipedia, Google search, but
it's
I'm not
15 minutes.
I'm not wasting my time. But so we're sitting there, and Regis is finishing his food, and he has his coffee and his dessert in front of him. So I went over and I said, "Hey, Regis," I said, "we're doing a little radio show here. It's it's live in Baltimore right now, but then we go nationwide. We would love for you to, come and just join us." I said, "All we really need is 10 minutes. Because Regis, once he gets rolling, 10 minutes can turn into 20, and that's exactly what happened." So he looks at me and he goes, "What's your name?" And I went, "Lou Pellegrino." He goes, "Lou Pellegrino, Italian kid. Where are you from?" And I went, "Queens." He goes, All right. He goes, "Did you graduate from Notre Dame?" And I went, "No, but I'm a really big fan." And he goes, "That's good enough for me. What do you need me to do?" I said, whatever you're ready, just come over. So of course he comes over, and as soon as he puts the headphones on, he realizes what your name is. And I believe you started talking about Louis Aparicio first.
I played the piece last week. I mean, I have it. So
and then we start recording, and you introduce him. My guest needs no introduction.
Well, he was the biggest star in the world. He was doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire 5 nights a week then.
And that's how he introduced you. He goes, "Is that your final Nestor?" And
that's exactly what he said.
And that's how the interview starts. And then he then just goes into Regis mode, because then he's talking to you, but he's looking at me and he's going, "Right, Lou, right, Nestor, what are you doing? And where's Gelman?" And it was just typical Regis, and it was just so much fun. That is the first and only time I met him. He gave me a huge hug when he left. I believe he hugged you and shook your hand when he left.
He was great.
And that was it. But I've had so many people who have interacted with him say the same thing. A cousin of mine.
I've been waiting to ask you if you had a picture. I'm so disappointed. I thought maybe you had one,
I might, but
I keep telling my wife about Joe Buck sitting in the window with me, and Bert Sugar used to come down and sit with me all the time. And I don't have any pictures of me and Joe or me and Bert.
I might have some. I have to really look.
Dude, please look. If you do any homework during this Islanders Cap series, you got a couple of off days here when you're not hating on the Flyers, all right?
Right.
And the Rangers are out, so you don't have to worry about them, okay?
I don't. My wife's a Ranger fan. I don't hate the Rangers. And the Rangers PR staff, as tough as they can be, are very good to me in ways that
matters, doesn't it? I always hated the Yankees till I had to deal with them, and they were nicer than the Orioles.
But you know what the heartbreaking is? The heartbreaking part is the Islanders PR staff, a team that I've bled for, in scuffles with friends in school and stupid stuff like that.
They don't care about it.
They don't care about me. They don't do. I mean, I've
now
actually
know why I've given up the Capitals, because it doesn't fulfill me anymore. In the same way that I don't listen to country music because I don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't go to movies anymore because the 2 hours I spend always feels like, I would have rather done something else. I don't golf because it sucks. Don't tell anybody. But, you do what you like, at this point.
My cousin is a young female softball player, and her team, they do these charities. Hey, can you get an autographed puck or an autographed baseball, this and that? So I was like, let me see what I can do. Now, hockey season was in. I wasn't going to call the Mets because it wasn't baseball season. So I reached out to the Rangers, and I was like, listen, I go, my cousin, I never ask her this stuff. I said, but my cousin's doing a charity silent auction, was wondering if you'd be willing to donate something. Immediately, not only the PR staff, the head PR guy, who's a VP and is one of the toughest nuts to crack, he reached out to me and just said, Lou, what do you need? And I said, JR, anything you can give me.
The humanity of it all, like, especially in the middle of COVID now, right? You would think on the other end of this, where sports has been, where sports. Right. Hey, man.
But it was just so great. So he says, can you come pick it up? And I said, well, actually, I have tickets to the game tonight. They were playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he goes, where are you sitting? I gave him my section. A PR rep came down, handed me an autographed stick by Mark Stahl with a certificate of authenticity and a note from JR just saying, hope this helps. Thanks so much for your interest, and we'll see you soon.
Couple $100 later, your charity does something nice, right?
Exactly. And, that was the really cool thing. But hold on, since we're talking about the one-on-one sports use, you brought up that box of chicken before, which I can't wait to come down to Baltimore and try. As soon as you grabbed that, it reminded me of our late, near and dear, well-loved and well-liked friend, Papa Joe Chevalier.
Oh, my man.
When Joe would have dozens and dozens of buckets of KFC sent to the studio because PETA did something, and he used to have those, like, the PETA aggression nights where it was like, oh, they're talking, they're talking about, I'm going to do my.
He was out of his mind.
Now. He was out of his mind. He was doing his, PETA, they want to stop at the chicken.
My favorite Papa Joe stories are when I would come out during my break. So I would leave the studio at 5 o'clock. And in Chicago, first off, I was there 2.5 years. I was single. I had a car. I had a really cheap hotel room that I didn't want to be in. And Chicago was right over there. So me, dude, I was at a Madonna concert at the United Center one night. I'm at Dave Matthews at Soldier Field the next night. I'm uptown at a alarm show. And then I'm going over to catch the Cubs. And I'm waiting for the Predators to come in. And Jimmy Buffett's playing the shed out. So, like, I would be doing all of the Brewers are playing in Milwaukee. Let's go up there. So that's how I lived when I was out there. And Joe would, where are you heading tonight, kid? Where are you going tonight? What do you see? Who are you hanging with famous tonight? Where's Kopic taking you tonight? You're going down to Rush Street tonight. So it was like one big body thing, but he had this yellow notebook paper, the big 11 by 14.
Yep.
And he would write out his intro every night.
The big legal pad. He had the
big legal pad. He would write out, tonight on the Papa Joe show, I'm pissed off about this and that and the other. So I would go in to pee, like, the last break. We would break at 20 and 40, and then at the top of the hour. I go in about 40, and he's always preparing the show in the bullpen there. And I'd go in to pee, and he's like, hey, Nasty, I want to read you my opening tonight. What do you think of this? I'm going to give him hell about this and that. You tell him I'm going to give him hell. And I would say, Joe, just come in and do the last segment with me. Just come in and we'll do a handoff tonight.
Oh, it was great.
I don't want to step in. And I'm like, Joe, I love having you on the show. Come on in. And that dirty SOB made a bet with me the year that I got fired there. We had a Super Bowl bet about the Ravens and the Steelers, and the Ravens won the Super Bowl, by the way. I got the videotape from Mike Flynn of the parade. And we had a bet that he was going to buy me a big steak at Burns Steakhouse in Tampa. And we were going to go up to the dessert room and get some bananas Foster. And he never paid up on the bet. And we never made it happen. And it's one of my life's regrets. Not that he didn't pick up the bill. I would have picked up the bill. But, like, that I didn't get to have that steak dinner with him because, like, we had a lot of fun on the air. And, man, 20 years later, I mean, there's guys like you and Hagen and, Cliffy Saunders, people that are in my life and friends of mine and Greeny and all those guys are all out online. And we stay up. And I have proposed a get-together softball game on the north side of Chicago to honor Chet Kopic and Papa Joe.
Oh, I would do that.
This mess is over with. And we'll all get some good deep dish pizza from Pequod's on the north side. And,
man.
Dude, good luck with I'm on your side, even though I'm wearing, like, this is a Jack's jersey. Do the Islanders have a fight song or anything, or no?
I don't think so. No. I think that was more for, like, an original six type of thing. I know the Rangers have a fight song.
Have I told you the only time I ever went to Uniondale?
No.
I drove.
Wait, wasn't it a concert? Wasn't it
No. Phil Jackman and I drove to Long Island for a knockout game, and the Islanders got knocked out by the upstart 1986 Capitals of Mike Gartner and Pete Peters. This was it's before that. This was the end of the Islanders' run. Like, this was the end of Al
it.
Arbor and Bossy and Smith. This was when they were tired and old and had 5 cups and just were hanging on, and they got their ass beat in front of – and typical of the Long Island fans, my memory of leaving there, I went down to the locker room that night and interviewed – I mean, Mike Ridley wasn't even there. It's 86. This is before the Rudy game and all. This was the Rudy game was the year after that. LaFontaine, all of that.
Sure.
But so they littered the ice with cups, paper cups at the time, and it was a mess. That's my
Harry
last
and Stevens
image.
Cups with all the logos and stuff on them.
Yeah, it was just – it was a disgusted – fat, over-the-edge Islander fan base that had won too many cups, and it was the end. It would be like the Patriots booing a fat Tom Brady after all he's done for them. You know what I mean?
Well, that's my
memory of Long Island. I was going to go back for Billy Joel's show. I was going to go back for some of those Caps Islanders playoff games about 4 or 5 years ago when Trotz was on our side. I never made it. So, I mean, hopefully I'll get up there with you in the new rink. I'm bummed that I never saw the Islanders play in Brooklyn, like where God meant for them to play.
You weren't missing anything. You weren't missing anything.
I did see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony there last year at the Barclays.
That's cool.
I saw Stevie Nicks.
You said the Cure killed it, right?
Oh, my God. The Cure was so good that night.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Def Leppard and Ian Hunter. Bad crack.
Yeah, well, Joe Elliott's voice can't do it anymore.
Oh, the young dudes. All right, dude.
All right, buddy.
I love you. I miss you.
Same here, buddy.
You know, listen, if you find any of those pictures, any of them, I have the Bettman ones. They're the only ones I have. Any other picture of any kind, even you and me being goofs, I have a really bad low-resolution version of the Slash picture. Like, it's so bad I can't even share it.
I think I might have them somewhere.
Scan it, do something.
And a couple of other pictures I might have is from the CNNSI Century Awards that we were at together at the Garden. I might have.
Tell that story next time. Next week, if it's like 2-2 or 3, like, and we come back together.
Even if there's a sweep, I don't care. I'll come.
That's one of the great nights of my life. One of my great memory. You know,
tux. You were in a tux.
I found the pictures and I found all of the audio.
Yeah.
From that night.
Just a quick teaser. One of my favorite moments that entire night is because I was there with Papa Joe. I think you were there solo.
I'll tell you my favorite part. Does it involve Martina Navratilova?
It does not. My favorite part of the night, I had just met Jerry Glanville a couple of nights prior at a function.
He was wearing black.
He was wearing black, and he hit it off. We hit it off, and he had his huge, belt buckle that night at the CNNSI Awards. So he remembered me, but as I walk over to him, I tap him on the shoulder, and I went, Jerry, I go, let me ask you a question. Who did you have to beat to get that championship belt? Because he had the huge, belt buckle on, and he just cracked him. He's like, my man, Lou, and he's hugging me. So all of a sudden, we're standing there talking, and now Jerry has to have adult ADD because we're talking. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he starts screaming, Tiger, come here, buddy. Tiger, come here. So now young Tiger Woods.
Very young Tiger Woods.
All of maybe 26
1999
years old.
Tiger Woods.
Right.
So, yes.
He's walking down the hall. He's walking down the corridor. Now he's walking towards me and Jerry. And he reaches out his hand. He goes, Jerry, what's up? Hi, Tiger. How you doing? I'm Lou. Oh, hey, Lou. Nice to meet you. What's up? He goes, Tiger, I just wanted to tell you with his, with his southern twang and all that. I just wanted to tell you. I don't even like golf, but I watch it because of you. Yeah. And it was just so funny. And then the second part of that night is there's 3 gentlemen walking towards me, and they stop and they ask me for directions. It's Dean Smith, Scotty Bowman, and Red Auerbach. And I'm just like, wow. Like, really?
Dude, that night was crazy.
It was nuts. And I just have that face where I guess people not recognize me. They think they know me. They think they.
You look like an actor. You look like a bit actor.
I don't know if it's that or if I just have a friendly eyes where they're just like, "Excuse me, young man, could you?"
Aren't you Scott Farrell?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, man, I love you, and we will catch up. I promise you. And
absolutely.
I'm going to take you for the best coconut cream pie, about 96 and 2nd, Upper East Side. I'll meet you in the city. All right.
You got it, pal.
Meet me in the city tonight. Lou Pellegrino, my dear friend and one-time producer of Nasty Nationwide at Sporting News. He's an Islander fan. I've been recruited in now. Islanders, Caps, hockey. It's August. It's 100 degrees. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. The buyatoyota.com audio vault there 24 hours a day. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Merging this with that. We are WNST.net AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore. Local, calm, hockey, and Baltimore positive.